morning after the fire, a thick haze of smoke still curled lazily over the smoldering remains of the main attraction tent. Charred canvas and broken poles lay tangled like defeated giants on the dusty earth. The air was heavy with the scent of burnt wood, mixed with the faint, lingering aroma of stale popcorn and sawdust, a reminder of what had been lost. Standing amid the ruin, Sal Marconi's tall, gaunt figure was a beacon of stubborn defiance. His patched ringmaster coat was dusted with ash, and his top hat sat slightly askew, but his eyes burned with that familiar, mischievous spark. "All right, fools," Sal announced, his voice ringing out over the rubble. "The show must go on. They may have taken our tent, but they haven't taken our spirit." Around him, the troupe gathered, faces a medley of exhaustion, disbelief, and something else, the faintest glimmer of hope. Maggie O'Hara was already moving, flipping through her well-worn notebook filled with scribbles and half-formed plans. "We don't have a tent," she said bluntly, "but we've got people, talent, and whatever the hell is left in this mess." Her pragmatic tone cut through the gloom. "We'll rig up what we can. No grand illusions, just pure chaos, and maybe a little magic." Eddie Collins, clutching a greasy wrench and spectacles fogged with sweat, was already scurrying among the scattered props, clutching bits of metal and wire. "I can jury-rig something," he mumbled, eyes wide with frantic energy, "something that'll dazzle. Or at least, not explode this time." Lulu the clown bounced forward, oversized shoes thumping on the cracked ground. Her bright makeup was smudged, but her smile was infectious. "I'll keep Em laughing," she promised, juggling a few battered pins as she wove through the group, occasionally knocking over a stray bucket or two. Chaos seemed to follow her like a shadow, but so did laughter. Harold Jenkins lurked near the fringes, slick hair glinting under the weak sun. His sharp eyes flickered with opportunistic calculations. "Maybe this is our chance," he whispered, "to clean up the books and get some real coin in the till." But even Harold's usual smooth confidence was tempered by the day's disaster. The troupe set to work, a flurry of motion and noise. Maggie directed the acrobats to practice routines on hastily erected scaffolds. Betty at the ticket booth counted the dwindling change with a worried frown, but kept her ledger close. Tommy, the gentle giant, lugged heavy equipment with surprising delicacy, his slow smile encouraging the others. Nina, draped in her mystical scarves, murmured cryptic encouragements, adding an eerie air of hope. As the sun climbed higher, the makeshift stage took shape beneath an open sky. There was no grand tent to shield them, no elaborate sets, just the raw, exposed earth and a scattering of colorful banners flapping in the breeze. The townspeople started to gather, drawn by curiosity more than expectation. Murmurs rippled through the crowd as Lulu accidentally sent juggling pins skittering across the ground, eliciting an unexpected burst of laughter that broke the tension. Sal took a deep breath, stepping forward to address the tentative audience. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Fool's Carnival, now featuring the world's first open-air, no tent, nothing to lose, extravaganza." His sardonic grin was met with chuckles. "We're a little rough around the edges," he continued, "but we guarantee you a night of chaos, comedy, and heart. So hold on to your hats, or what's left of M." The show began with a series of mishaps that might have been disasters anywhere else. Eddie's contraption sputtered and sparked, sending harmless bursts of smoke skyward, while Maggie's acrobatics included a few unexpected tumbles that became part of the act. Lulu's pratfalls grew wilder, her infectious laughter pulling the crowd in like a magnet. Harold slipped in and out of the shadows, orchestrating last-minute deals to keep the lights flickering and the music playing. Betty's quiet efficiency ensured tickets were sold fairly, and Tommy's steady presence helped steady the more nervous performers. Despite the slapstick failures, the troupe's chemistry was undeniable. Each blunder was met with quick wit and supportive cheers, turning potential disasters into shared triumphs. The townspeople, initially skeptical, found themselves drawn into the absurdity and warmth of the performance. Under the open sky, the Fool's Carnival reinvented itself, not as a polished spectacle, but as a heartfelt testament to resilience and ridiculousness. Laughter echoed through the twilight, mingling with cheers and applause. As the final act stumbled to its chaotic close, Sal broke the fourth wall one last time, winking at the crowd. "We may be fools," he said, voice rich with irony and affection, "but fools who never quit, and that's a show worth seeing." The crowd rose, clapping and whooping for more, caught up in the improbable magic of a carnival that refused to die. Behind the scenes, the troupe exchanged tired but triumphant smiles, battered, bruised, but unbroken. As the night deepened, the fire's shadow faded, replaced by something brighter, the enduring light of absurd yet heartfelt survival. And somewhere, just beyond the horizon, the road to the next town waited, promising new follies and fresh hopes. The Fool's Carnival was still alive, and still foolishly, wonderfully determined to keep the show going. But as Sal glanced up at the stars, a sardonic thought crossed his mind. Next time, maybe we build a fire extinguisher into the act. The laughter that followed was genuine, ringing out like a promise in the night. Under the flickering glow of mismatched lanterns and string lights, the Fool's Carnival prepared for what might be their last hurrah. The air was thick with a mingling scent of stale popcorn, sawdust, and the faint trace of smoke from the burnt tenter, reminder of the disaster that had nearly ended their dream. The makeshift stage was a patchwork of salvaged wood and frayed fabric, but to Sal Marconi, it was a throne from which to rally his ragtag family. Sal adjusted his top hat, its brim slightly bent from years of wear, and tugged at his patched ringmaster coat. His eyes scanned the gathering crowd, a scattering of curious townsfolk, some skeptical, others simply amused by the spectacle of a carnival that seemed to thrive on its own misfortune. With a sardonic grin, he stepped forward, his voice cutting through the murmurs like a clarion call. "Ladies and gentlemen, fools and knaves," Sal began, breaking the invisible fourth wall that had become his signature. "Welcome to the greatest show you'll never pay for. We may be ragged, we may be broke, but we're still here. And tonight, we show you what that means." A ripple of chuckles spread through the crowd, a small but vital spark of warmth in the chilly evening. Behind Sal, Maggie O'Hara stretched, her athletic frame poised like a coiled spring. She caught Sal's eye and gave a subtle nod. No matter how rough the night, they would dance on. The show kicked off with Maggie's aerial act. She climbed the shaky trapeze, rigged hastily between two poles, muscles taut and focused. The crowd gasped as she soared and swung, her silhouette cutting graceful arcs against the dimming sky. Below, Lulu the clown tumbled into a barrel of confetti, erupting in peals of infectious laughter. Her bright makeup and oversized shoes made her a beacon of joy, even as her antics threatened to send the entire setup into chaos. The sounds of slapstick collisions, laughter, and clapping filled the air, weaving a tapestry of absurdity and delight. Then came Eddie Collins, pushing forward his latest invention, clanking, flashing contraption designed to dazzle and amaze. But, predictably, it sputtered and sparked, sending out a puff of smoke that set the crowd gasping. Instead of despair, the troupe transformed the malfunction into a comedic routine. Eddie stumbled backward, bumping into Harold the Snake Jenkins, who threw his hands up with mock surprise. The two launched into an impromptu dance of mishaps, knocking over props and sending a cascade of juggling pins flying into the delighted audience. Harold, ever the hustler, seized the moment to distribute free tickets for the next show, a sly smile on his face that softened his usual shadiness. The crowd, caught between amusement and genuine affection, cheered louder than before. Throughout the performance, the troupe's imperfections became their strengths. Each stumble and misstep was met with laughter and applause, a celebration of their shared humanity and relentless spirit. Sal's voice rose again as the finale approached, his eyes glinting with a mix of exhaustion and triumph. "Tonight," he said, "we are fools, yes, but fools who refuse to quit. This carnival isn't just a show, it's our family, our dream, and our defiance against a world that'd rather see us gone. So laugh with us, cry with us, and maybe, just maybe, believe with us." The audience erupted in applause, some wiping away tears, others laughing through their own bittersweet smiles. As the troupe took their bows, shoulders touching in a line of unity, the fragile thread of hope that held them together felt stronger than ever. Behind the scenes, Maggie exhaled deeply, her usual cynicism softened by the warmth surrounding her. Eddie, cheeks flushed with pride, exchanged a glance with Sal that spoke volumes. They had survived, if only for tonight. And Lulu, ever the heart of the carnival, tossed a final handful of confetti into the air, a sparkling shower over the fools who dared to dream. The night waned, but the spirit of the Fool's Carnival burned bright, a beacon of comedic hopefulness amidst the absurdity of their survival. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but for now, they had one heart sand that was worth everything. Yet, as the crowd dispersed under a sky thick with stars, Sal's gaze drifted toward the horizon. The question lingered, could this fragile magic carry them forward? Or was this fleeting victory the last act of their long-running farce? Only time would tell, but for now, the show went on. The night had folded itself around the Fool's Carnival like a heavy velvet curtain, soft and dark, yet somehow comforting in its embrace. The crowds had melted away hours ago, their laughter and applause now just echoes bouncing between the battered tents and faded banners fluttering in the cool breeze. In the center of it all, beneath the skeletal remains of the main attraction tent, Sal stood alone, his tall, gaunt frame silhouetted by the distant glow of the town's street lamps. His patched ringmaster coat, frayed at the edges and stitched with care from countless past failures, fluttered slightly as he shifted his weight, eyes scanning the empty ring where so many hopes had danced and stumbled. "Well," Sal muttered to himself, a sardonic smile twitching at the corner of his mouth, "another day, another disaster avoided." Mostly, he let out a breath, the kind that carried both exhaustion and the stubborn ember of optimism that refused to die. The silence around him was thick, but it didn't feel like defeat, not quite. Behind him, a gentle shuffle of footsteps drew his attention. Maggie O'Hara approached, her usually fierce eyes softer than usual, the hard lines of cynicism cracked open just enough to let a flicker of something warmer shine through. She dropped down onto a nearby wooden crate, the one scarred by years of heavy use and too many hurried meals. Eddie Collins followed, his messy hair slightly tamed, thick glasses catching the faint light as he nervously toyed with a small mechanical bird. "You really think it'll fly?" Maggie asked, nodding toward Eddie's creation. Eddie looked up, cheeks flushing beneath the grease stains. "Not yet," he admitted, "but it's getting there. I've been working on the wing joints. If I can just get the timing right, maybe next time." Maggie's lips twitched into a rare, genuine smile. "Next time?" The phrase hung between them like a fragile promise. Sal watched the exchange, a pang of warmth stirring in his chest. For all their bickering and bungled schemes, for all the chaos and calamity, these were the people who had stuck by him. The fools who kept the carnival's heart beating, even when the lights flickered and the tents threatened to collapse. From the shadows near the striped tents, Harold Jenkins, the so-called snake, leaned against a pole, his slicked-back hair catching the moonlight. His sharp eyes scanned the troupe, a mixture of envy and regret clouding his expression. Clutched in his hand was a crumpled envelope filled with cash, his latest ill-gotten gains. He had crossed lines, betrayed trust, but tonight, watching the weary but unbroken faces of his companions, something inside him shifted. He stepped forward hesitantly, clearing his throat. I want to make things right," he said quietly, voice rough with uncertainty. "Not just for the money, but for you all." Lulu the clown, ever the embodiment of chaos and joy, twirled into the clearing, barefoot, her colorful patched costume smeared with dirt and her bright makeup slightly smeared. She hummed a whimsical tune, juggling invisible balls with a grace that belied her mischief. Her eyes sparkled with undiminished joy, a beacon in the dimming night. "Come on, everyone," she chirped, voice light and infectious. "The show's over, but the carnival's still alive." Her laughter was a bomb, drawing reluctant smiles from the troupe. Even Sal found himself chuckling, the sound low and genuine. The night was far from perfect, the future uncertain, but in this moment, amid the wreckage and the quiet, there was something precious, the fragile, foolish hope that kept them moving forward. As dawn threatened the horizon, painting the sky with tentative shades of pink and gold, the troupe gathered for a final huddle. Sal looked around at the tired, hopeful faces, feeling the weight of their shared struggle and the unspoken promise to face whatever came next together. "We're fools," he said, breaking the silence. "But we're our kind of fools. And sometimes, that's enough." Maggie nodded. Eddie adjusted his glasses with newfound determination. Harold tucked the envelope into his pocket with resolve, and Lulu twirled once more, laughter ringing out like a bell. Outside, the first birds began to sing. The carnival's tents were packed, the carts hitched, and the road ahead stretched uncertain but wide open. The Fool's Carnival was not finished yet, not by a long shot, and neither were they. Sal's reflections soon gave way to the practical, as the troupe moved through the stillness, packing away the remnants of their last show. The air smelled of burnt canvas and popcorn dust, mingling with the faint scent of rain that threatened to fall. Each movement was slow, deliberate, as if honoring the bittersweet memories etched into every creak of wood and pull of rope. Maggie lingered near the sideshow banners, the usual fire in her eyes softened to embers. She caught Sal's gaze and nodded. "Maybe we do have a shot," she said quietly. "Not because the world owes us one, but because we've earned it." Sal's smile deepened. "Earned it by falling flat on our faces." She shrugged with a grin. Exactly. Eddie, nearby, was already sketching ideas in the dirt with a stick, his fingers smudged with grease and dirt. "I've got new plans," he announced, voice brimming with cautious excitement. "Ideas that won't blow up the tent next time." Lulu skipped over, her oversized shoes thudding softly on the packed earth. "And I'll make sure the pies don't find their way to the mayor's face again. Probably." Harold remained quiet for a moment, then stepped forward. "I want to help," he said, eyes fixed on the ground before meeting Sal's. "No more schemes behind backs, if you'll have me." Sal studied him a beat, then nodded. "Welcome back, Snake." The troupe shared a look foolish, flawed, but fiercely united. The carnival might still be a mess, the future uncertain, and Victor Langford's shadow lurking on the horizon, but tonight they had each other. And sometimes, in the chaos of clowns and calamity, that was the greatest show of all. As the first light of morning stretched across the sky, Sal once again found himself breaking the fourth wall, a sardonic grin curling beneath his weary eyes. "They say the show must go on," he murmured to the empty ring, "and somehow, these fools keep making sure it does. Maybe that's the real magic. Or maybe it's just stubbornness." Either way, the carnival was alive, and so were they. The end was not yet written. The fool's carnival would roll on one misstep, one laugh, one disaster at a time. The early morning air was cool and sharp, wrapping the fool's carnival in a quiet embrace that felt almost sacred. The sun had barely breached the horizon when the troupe began their ritual, the dismantling of their beloved, battered carnival. It was a slow, deliberate process, each performer moving with the weary grace of those who knew this goodbye was not a victory lap, nor a celebration, but a necessity. The tents, once vibrant with color and promise, sagged beneath the weight of years and hard use, their canvas stained and frayed. Sal Marconi, tall and gaunt in his patched ringmaster coat and ever-present top hat, stood on the flatbed truck, overseeing the work with a mixture of pride and exhaustion. His eyes, sharp beneath the brim, flickered with sardonic asides, only he seemed to hear a silent commentary on the absurdity of their existence. "Another town, another chance," he muttered to himself, voice barely audible over the clatter of poles and flapping canvas. Maggie O'Hara, short and athletic, tied back her dark hair as she helped fold a particularly stubborn banner. Her sharp tongue was muted by the quiet dawn, replaced by a contemplative softness that surprised her own reflection in the cracked mirror of a nearby trailer. The struggles of the past weeks, the sabotage, the fires, the near disasters had chipped away at her cynicism, leaving behind a fragile shard of hope. Eddie Collins, the eccentric inventor, wiped grease from his thick glasses as he carefully packed away the remains of his latest contraption, a wild, mechanical oddity that had both thrilled and terrified the troupe. His dreams were no less grand, but his steps now carried the weight of hard-earned wisdom. Even Harold the Snake Jenkins, whose slicked back hair and shifty eyes often brought tension, moved with a quiet purpose, his usual schemes momentarily shelved in favor of the shared survival of the carnival family. Lulu, the clown, ever the heart of the troupe, balanced a stack of colorful props with a precarious wobble. Her bright makeup, oversized shoes, and patched costume were a beacon of joy amidst the weariness. At one point, she tripped over a loose rope, sending a cascade of juggling pins tumbling to the ground. Instead of frustration, she erupted into infectious laughter, the sound rippling through the group and lifting spirits like a sudden burst of sunlight through grey clouds. Betty, the quiet ticket seller, moved efficiently among the trailers, her mysterious past a silent undercurrent to the hum of packing and goodbyes. Tommy, the gentle strongman, carefully lifted heavy crates with surprising delicacy, his slow-witted kindness a balm to the troupe's frayed nerves. Nina, the cryptic fortune-teller, watched the sunrise with theatrical flair, murmuring omens that mingled hope with realism. As the last tent was folded and stowed, Sal climbed once more onto the flatbed truck. He cleared his throat, drawing the attention of the tired troupe. His voice carried the familiar cadence of their endless journey, a wry smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "Well, fools," he began, his tone equal parts sardonic and sincere. "We're not rich, we're not famous, and we've got more scars than applause, but we're still here, ready to chase the next horizon, to stumble into the next disaster, and maybe, just maybe, find a bit of glory in the chaos. The troupe gathered closer, the fatigue of months melting into a shared warmth. Maggie cracked a rare smile. Eddie nodded, eyes bright behind grease-streaked lenses. Lulu juggled a few pins effortlessly, a small performance just for them. Harold, for once, looked less like a snake and more like a weary but loyal friend. The caravan began to roll forward, the creak of wheels mingling with the morning birdsong. As the carnival faded into the distance, the troupe carried with them more than just their belongings. They carried the absurd, beautiful resilience of fools who refused to quit. The road ahead was uncertain, littered with the promise of mishaps and the glimmer of hope. And for the Fool's Carnival, that was enough. The show would go on. Somewhere, somehow, always. Sal's voice drifted back one last time, breaking the fourth wall with a grin. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this mad, miserable, magnificent ride. Until next time, keep your hats on and your hearts foolish. And with that, the carnival disappeared into the dawn, a patchwork of dreams and laughter chasing the endless horizon.